It's December Top Minecraft Origins Explained, the video where I go through all the origins posted to the Origins Discord in the past month and pick out 10 awesome ones that you should try out. If you want to download these yourself, that you have to go to the Origins Discord server. If you want to learn how to do that, there's a video down in the links down below that will teach you exactly how to get all the origins you need. Now our first origin comes from the user known as 1. We got the origin called the Firebrand origin. This is a 2 impact origin. You have mastered the Way of Flames. Our first ability is Fuel. When on fire, channels the flames into your next attack, dealing more damage. Basically, you deal 25% extra damage whenever you're on fire. You have the ability to toggle this ability on or on with the save load bar activator, which is interesting that you can toggle it on and off. I don't know why you would do that, it's just bonus damage. And also, whenever you do land a hit, you have a 60% chance for the fire to go out that's currently on you, though you can alleviate this by standing in a fire or in lava. Fire Dash. You can dash using your flames. This requires that flame bar, which is the yellow bar above your hot bar, which we'll get to how you recharge that a little later. It's in this ability set, but basically to activate this ability, you press the G button, your primary ability key, and you'll dash forward or dash towards a direction. Very minimally. It's not amazing, but it could be useful in some circumstances. Reborn from Flames. You regain health whenever you're on fire. Basically, whenever you're on fire, you have permanent regeneration on for that time being. It's only tier 1, but it could be useful in the middle of a fight or middle of other different things. It's just a good way to regen your health whilst also hurting other people around you if they're trying to go after you. Next is Flame Breath. What more could you ever want? So this is a multi-layer ability. First and foremost, you have Fire Breath. This is key to your secondary ability key, which I usually have to Y, and basically it just shoots out a bunch of flame projectiles, kind of similar to what the Blaze shoots out. This is a very good way of starting a forest fire if you so want to do that, but I'm going to regret doing that because it's going to be laggy later. Secondly, this also serves to show you how to recharge your flame ability, which can either be done via coal by eating it or via the artifact, which we'll go over soon. But with coal, when you eat it, you'll also increase a grey bar, which when that fills out, you cannot eat any more coal regardless if you have room in your fire bar or not. So of course there's a bit of a resource management there. You can only use so much coal at once because it will fill up and then you can't eat any more coal and you'll run out of your fire abilities. Then furthermore to that, for another additional layer, is that you also have the ability to be immune to fire and lava based damage, which is pretty useful considering this is a fire origin. Smelt. You can use flames to smelt items in your offhand. So by using your flame bar and you have the item in your offhand, you can smelt it. It takes a bit of time, like it doesn't happen immediately. It takes probably about 5 to 10 seconds depending on the item, but the biggest caveat to this is that it does not give you any form of experience whatsoever. So ultimately, whilst it's a useful ability to have in a moment situation where you kind of need it, overall you're still better off using a furnace because you still get experience of that. But I guess it just follows suit with how the better furnaces don't give you anywhere near the same amount of experience that a normal furnace does because you're paying for the convenience. Heat Sensor. At night, you can sense living beings by their body heat. In layman's term, all mobs will have a glowing effect around them at night time. The Artifact of Flames. Using a Netherite pickaxe on a Netherite star to get the Artifact of Flames to legendary Molten Fury. In order to create this, you just grab your Netherite pickaxe in your inventory and then you right click on top of the Netherite star and it will fuse together, giving you the Multi Fury pickaxe. This pickaxe has sharpness 10, efficiency 6, fortune 4, as well as a fire aspect on it, which means it's basically a brutally powerful pickaxe you get pretty late in the game. It's actually not easy to get, but it's a really cool item, and you can also right click on it to heal up your flames to get more flames instead of using coal. And hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. I cover origins for most of my content. I've got some cool ideas that will be happening sometime throughout this year. So yeah, also make sure to leave a like. Let's get back into the video. Speedrunning through the disadvantages. You've got Cooked with Love. You can only eat coal and cooked things. Charred Flesh. You have 3 less hearts than a human and have no natural regeneration, which is particularly interesting. Forces you to use fire a lot more. Flaming Hands. Bows, crossbows, and shields burn your hands so you can't use them. Unwieldy, but on steroids. Weak ass armor. Your body melts all armor below diamond, meaning that you can't wear any armor unless you get towards diamond or netherite level. Burning calories. You will exhaust 2 times faster because you're fire. You burn your calories like a madman. And then water vulnerability. Water will deal damage over time. Self-explanatory. You know that one already. The next origin comes from the user known as 𝓵𝓷𝓷𝓴𝓼. This origin is called the Stalker origin. It's a 2 impact origin. Stalkers are creatures of skulk found in underground temples and dungeons. They utilize malleable nature to disguise themselves and ambush careless victims. Let's get into the abilities. Malleable Body. You can turn yourself into an item, making mobs ignore you. While disguised, you'll take and deal more damage and emit skulk-like sounds others can hear. Now what you'll see on your side is that you're a floating gold bar. I'm not 100% sure what the second player will see because 𝓵𝓷𝓷𝓴𝓼, I don't have a second account anymore. Thanks Mojang, I'm going to keep saying that. But basically, unlike with most other abilities that usually make it so you can't be detected by mobs, whenever you do it again after you've been spotted by mobs, the mob's AI will just flick off. With other invincibility or fade away things that make it so mobs can't see you, skeletons and zombies will still track you as normal, but this time around, this ability completely switches off their AI, which is pretty cool. Tendril Wrap. Attacking a mob while disguised sends out a tendril to slow them and reduce their armor for a few seconds. Honestly, this is a pretty interesting ability. You can utilize it in a very interesting way. Let's say the mobs are following you. You can just stand still, wait until they get super close, then hit your disguise ability. They won't be able to see you, they'll stop walking towards you and won't attack you, and you can simply hit them once and run away because it slows them down. And you can tell that they're hit by this because you'll see some awesome Warden-esque effects go against them, then you see them glow like dark green whilst they're affected with this. If you hit them whilst they're affected by this, it will just end it, so don't hit the mob when you've done this effect to them, just simply run away, otherwise it'll just end the effect right then and there. Twilight Vision. Your antenna-like eyes adapted to see in the dark better than regular humans. Effectively, you get a toggleable night vision that isn't exactly daylight vision, but it's useful nevertheless. Sensitive. You take 1.5 times damage from mobs and players' attacks. You just take increased amount of damage. It's not necessarily game changing, it's just something you need to be a little bit more aware of. But to keep in mind, this may stack on top of the more damage you take when you are in your item state where you can't be seen. So be very aware of that. Uncanny Hunger. You get food from killing mobs for a few seconds after you reveal your true form from a disguise, but food items aren't as saturating for you. In layman's terms, if you kill a mob directly after undisguising yourself, whether it be by simply doing the final blow whilst you're disguised, or whether doing a blow right after you do a disguise, it will give you hunger benefits from there. And most food items, while still are functionally useful to you, they don't give you as much saturation as what they usually would. Decayed Body. Consistently reshaping yourself took a toll on your body, reducing your max health to 8 hearts. This is where that previous disadvantage where you take more damage really comes into a bit of a potent effect, so again, be very aware of your health. Moving along, the next origin for today's video comes from the user known as 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 with his Stalker origin. Now this one I've reviewed a while back, probably about midway through last year. It's recently undergone a massive rework that's changed a lot about it. I'm not going to go through the evolution process and how that all functions in this video, mainly because this video is going to be long enough as it is, but I'll go through the core origin. Sensor Preservation. You can locate mobs in your area by pressing the primary ability. This will locate mobs in a 40 block radius. Combined with your regular motion sensors abilities can prove excellent. Basically, mobs are invisible to you unless they're glowing, which only happens whenever they get very close to you or whenever you use your primary ability here, which can give you up to a 40 block radius, which overall is probably the maximum you'll ever need. It gives you enough vision to see far enough ahead of you that's not going to be too much of a problem to worry about. Skulk Perspective. Your natural vision is unique compared to other creatures. You are very blind and you can only detect mobs whenever they make noise. Players can use Crash to avoid your vision completely. Using Sensor Provocation can counter this, and at the same time, being near bells will give you debuffs due to your sensitive noise receptors being weak to, well, natural noises that can be made by a bell. You get both poison and nausea whenever you're near a bell. Well, it really only affects you whenever you're on top of the bell or on the same block as the bell, otherwise you don't have to worry too much about it, but it's a very instantaneous effect and takes about 8 seconds to cool down and get back off of you after you get it in the first place. The rest of that ability is pretty self-explanatory because 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 kind of explained it in the actual description itself. Sensitive Skin. You aren't used to fire in your environment. You'll take double damage from fire and the flames will continuously burn you until you find water. Whilst not quite self-explanatory, I believe 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 gives enough detail for this. Basically, your flames, regardless of how minimal you touch a fire for, once it's on, it will only go if you hit water. So fire could literally mean death if you touch it and you have no water nearby and don't have a bucket. And here's where I came across a bit of an issue. Whenever you die as this origin, it would call you're unable to respawn in any way, which I don't know what would have caused that, but it made it so I had to literally force close my game in order for it to function again. Vibrant Sense. Your natural vision is distorted due to your blindness. You can temporarily repair your vision by pressing F4. Unlike last time, when it comes to that little filter thing, the filter thing is kind of semi-permanent. There's two filters to it. First off, there's a blue color filter, which you can't disable unless you like turn off your entire HUD using F1. And then there's a different filter, which is kind of the original filter, which you can disable with F4. So you kind of have a bit of options, but regardless of anything, you're still going to be stuck with one filter the entire time. Favorite pastime. You smother your little tendrils on the surface you touch while crouching, causing the blocks to erode into skull. Basically, if you hold down your sneak key in the real world, you can right click on a block and it'll convert into a skulk. Whether it be snow, whether it be leaves, whether it be any form of type of block, it will just be converted to skull by whatever that block was before. Cave Awoken. You open your little eyes and see an unknown world around you. This is where your journey begins. Basically, whenever you're inside of dripstone caves or just caves in general, you have your blue filter completely gone. So all you have is the main core filter, which you can easily disable, and you can have normal vision if you really want to. And a bit of a side note in the crash that I experienced earlier, I think it has something to do with the whole respawning into a specific biome. It tends to have a lot of issues on certain worlds when those specific biomes aren't really that close to spawn. So that could cause some potential issues for this origin, but overall it's fine. Sound sensitive. The surface world is too loud for you. Your vision will become even more distorted on the surface world along with your natural blindness. This is just that blue filter. You get it by now. That blue filter that you can't get rid of unless you turn off your entire HUD is what you get when you're on the surface. Odd tendrils. Skulk tendrils aren't meant for ranged weapons or shields. You can't use any ranged weapons. I'm correcting a little error there, don't worry about it. It's self-explanatory. You can't use shields, you can't use ranged weapons. Have fun. Your natural habitat is underground amongst the stone and skulk. You naturally gain food at Y level 0 and below. Useful ability. You get some free food when you're low in the world. Very good. Skulk Agility. Your skulk body, your small body, allows you to do long dashes for mobility. You can dash in all directions, including backwards. Effectively speaking, what you need to do is you just double tap on the movement key in the direction that you want to go, and then you'll dash towards that direction. Probably about 4 to 5 blocks of a dash in extreme quick succession. Pretty useful, something interesting to have. Infection Life. Your skulk form isn't very durable. You have 5 less hearts than a human. Self-explanatory. And for the evolution, skulks love to listen to the sound of music as it makes them stronger in the game to survive. Evolved skulkins also get reinforced skin, extra stickiness, and a new bound with skulk. As said, not gonna go over the evolution that much, moving along. Next, we've got the Cloud Skipper origin created by the user known as Silent. This is a 2-impact origin, majestic elemental beings capable of skipping on the air itself. Skipping on clouds. By jumping midair, you can create clouds to skip on them, allowing you to jump an infinite amount of times before landing. Basically, this allows for like infinite flight if you're just wanting to keep spamming spacebar, so good luck having carpal tunnel on your fingers at some point in the near future with this ability. Jokes. But yeah, basically, as long as you just keep pressing spacebar, every like few seconds you'll create a new cloud, and then you'll jump even further, and it allows you to climb up some pretty good heights. Rain Cloud. While sneaking midair, you can create a rain cloud below you, causing you to hover in place, unable to move or fall. This can't be used at 3 food shanks or lower, and it's heavily exhausting. Overall, a really cool ability that just allows you to sit there and float in midair for a hot minute, but again, it consumes your hunger very quickly, so you either need to have a good amount of food on you, or you just need to not do it for too long, otherwise it could be problematic and you'll fall right back to the ground. But that's okay, because you've also got slow falling. You fall to the ground as light as rainfall, preventing you from taking any form of fall damage. Pretty self-explanatory. Air Affinity. You may break blocks in the air as others do on land. Now, there's a bit of a weird thing you may or may not have known about, is that whenever you use creative flight in survival mode, your breaking speed of blocks is extraordinarily slow. Like, I think it's about the same pace, if not slower, than what your breaking block ability is when you're floating in water. As you know, if you go down to the bottom of the water and you sit down on the floor, you can break it slightly quicker than what you would floating around. This decides to turn that off, so you can break blocks quickly. You can literally use the hover ability to be able to mine and do other things on those lines very easily. Dissipation. After you take damage, your cloud skipping and rain cloud is temporarily disabled. Whenever you get hit by anything, and whenever you take damage whatsoever, you'll go transparent and you'll have a bar that will temporarily load back in before you can use your rain ability or your cloud ability ever again. It's very short, it's probably like 4 or 5 seconds at max. It's not massively painful. It can cause you a bit of problems in some situations depending on your luck, but overall it shouldn't be too much of a pain. Cloudy feet. Your feet are not made for walking. Whenever you're on the ground, your movement is slippery and you move 60% slower. Basically speaking, you're going to want to use your cloud skipping ability almost all the time, as you move so much quicker with that ability. Whenever you're on the ground, you're just drastically slow to the point where if you're not sprinting, mobs can catch up to you pretty damn easily. Our next origin comes from the user known as 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼, and it's the Revenant origin. This is a 2-impact origin. You have been brought back from the dead to hunt the living. Let's get into the abilities. Rotting body. Due to your time in the grave, your skin is pale and decomposition has weakened your body. You're also a touch green on top of that, so another very interesting piece of information there. Sacred light. Sunlight weakens your body. I'm not 100% sure what that quite means. It seems like you may take drastically more damage than usual from mobs. Maybe, not quite sure. Gloom. Nighttime envelops your body with power. This one's a lot more simple and easier to understand. You basically get a bit of armor pointage usage. You get a little bit, your body takes a little less damage and stuff along those lines. Undead. You're one of the undead. This makes you weak towards some enchantments and potions. You understand how this goes by now. Smite will hurt you a lot more than usual. Instant healing will do damage to you instead, etc, etc. Very simple. Unnerving presence. Your undead aura makes iron golems think that you are a threat, and villagers will have increased prices. So unlike other origins along these lines, it doesn't straight up disable villagers. You can still use them. They're just going to give you increased prices than normal, but iron golems will still kill you on sight, so be very wary of that one. Mystic Illusion. You're able to transfer into an invulnerable state for a short period of time to avoid upcoming attacks. Basically, with your primary ability, you get maxed out resistance for a brief period of time. Mystic Awareness. You're able to heighten your senses for a short period of time. This is your secondary ability. I'm not 100% sure what this one does. I press the ability and it doesn't seem like much happened. Maybe you get more speed. Maybe you get something else that's not extremely obvious off the bat. Maybe you have hidden strength. I don't know. Undead Warriors. You're able to rise the dead to fight for you. Usable after 15 kills. Flame will appear on your hotbar when you're able to use it. This is using the save load bar hotbar activator thingy-bob. I'm not quite sure how this ability works. After you get your 15 kills, 5 flame pits will appear above your food bar. Activating the ability didn't seem to do anything. Maybe I tricked myself. I have no idea what happened, to be completely honest, so I'm just gonna move along, really. Double jump. Your light body allows you to propel yourself into the air for a second. Consumes energy. Basically, you have a very simple double jump. This yellow bar will appear and it consumes a little bit of it. You can do multiple double jumps until that's gone, and then you don't have a double jump. It can be useful to avoid fall damage and other things on those lines. It's pretty good. Our next origin comes from 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼. This is the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 origin, or the 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼 origin. I don't know how to say the word properly. It's a combination of Ender and axolotl without the A. It's a 3-impact origin. Aquatic creature that has harnessed the teleportation abilities of the Endermans. Skills. You can breathe underwater but not on land. Pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you understand that. Ender Bubble. Whenever you want, you may throw an Ender Bubble which travels fast underwater. The bubble explodes on contact after some time, teleporting you to its location. It's just the Enderian Enderpearl, nothing special here. Unique eyes. You can slightly see in the dark above and underwater. Basically, your toggleable night vision. You can use this in the water throughout the day and you get improved vision, and it also works really well at night. Slight aqua affinity. You may break blocks underwater almost as fast as others do on land. Caveat, you can't do that when you're floating in water. You must be on the actual surface bottom of the water, and then you can break at normal speeds. Play dead. In an instant that you would have died, you'll be granted some resistance and regeneration, but you'll move slower. Basically, you get a few little advantages. You get resistance, you get slowness, you get some regeneration, you get a brief moment of invisibility. Basically, you get what you need to get out of what current situation that you're currently stuck within. Fragile, you have 3 less hearts than the health of humans, self-explanatory. Scared of the gods, you're afraid of pumpkins for a good reason. It's kind of the same thing as Enderian. Then we move into our next origin, created by the user known as 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼. This is a vampire origin, a very different vampire origin. This is a tier 3 origin. The vampire is an ancient, blood-sucking race with an aversion to sunlight. Vampirism, you drink the blood of others for survival. Blood is used to heal rapidly. So you cannot eat. Instead, you sneak and right-click onto entities. This will fill your blood bar, deal minimal damage to the target, and also grant you various effects depending on the creature. There are multiple different effects, and some of them are pretty interesting, some of them are pretty basic. I'm not going to go in detail because time reasons. You can already see the link for this video already. But you'll see whatever the husk does on screen though, because, you know, the husk, it's my thing. I play around with the husk, we've got to use it on him at least. Metamorph, you can transform into a bat at the cost of health. So you lose a lot of health, but you you have the ability to fly. You lose access to a lot of tools, but again, you have the ability to fly. Pretty useful thing there. You can easily switch back to full health. It's pretty neat overall. Vampiric, your strength and eyesight scales with your blood level. Basically, the intensity of your night vision will change depending on how high your blood level is. When it's at maxed out, you pretty much get absurd levels of night vision. Same roughly goes with strength, except for it at like probably about 3/4 you have strength 1, and then a little higher you get strength 2, and then that's about it for the strength, so it doesn't scale anywhere near the same. Night vision's a bit crazy though. Unholy, you take more damage from smite and healing potions harm you. Same thing as undead, it's just one of those things. Stakes, being hit with a wooden sword will briefly incapacitate you. Basically you just can't move for a brief moment. Stakes, a wooden sword will just stop your movement, which means they can deal a lot of damage to you in a very quick succession because you can't do anything about it. Halophobia, sunlight will burn you and prevent you from healing. In turn though, you can use the bat form to avoid burning in the daylight, so you do have a way to get around that throughout the day. You just go to your bat form and you'll be perfectly fine. The next origin comes from Roll Hard, an origin known as the Collector. This is a 3 impact origin. You like to take little pieces of things and then hold on to them. Sometimes they whisper to you. Chest cavity, you need a place to store the things you collect. Press your temporary key to tear open your chest and place up to 5 unique mob drops inside. Passive items work in any slot, while active items will only work in the middle slot. Basically, whenever you press this button, this will require the Origin's extra keybinds mod as well. Whenever you use this button, you'll get 5 extra slots. This will give you blindness and weakness whenever you use this ability as well for a brief period of time, which is something interesting to keep in mind, and you get a little bit of extra storage. Vital organs, you must make space within your body for any additional parts, lowering your physical capabilities the more you modify your organs. So while you do this, you'll do things such as it will decrease the amount of hearts you have, it will decrease the hunger, it will decrease like various different pieces of your physical ability, might make you weaker, might make you sore, may make you various different things. It's just a little bit of a consequence for modifying your body. Feeding, your body doesn't quite work how it used to and you can no longer eat. Instead, you must place a piece of rotten flesh into each slot of your chest cavity and then hold your secondary key. So be wary, when you do this and you put a rotten flesh slot into every single slot in your chest cavity, you'll actually start burning to death in the daylight. Is something that's very big to keep in mind, but you can eat it and get rid of it and then you'll be perfectly fine again. Though I couldn't quite figure out how that worked entirely. I was holding the secondary key. It's a bit weird, this ability is. I think the fair thing to say with the Collector origin, I don't quite understand it properly or thoroughly in order to give it a good breakdown for you guys to understand. I do highly encourage you to go check it out for more because there's a lot of details in that one. Like there's like each individual item give you various different things. It's very, very weird, but there's a lot to it and I think it's pretty cool, but again, I don't have the time to really dive into it too much in this video. Our next origin comes with the user known as 3EEV, and he's got the origin known as the Tinker Bit. This is a 3 impact origin. You're a small robot developed by ancient builders, game theory reference, that was used for mostly redstone. You can craft redstone and build easier, but at the expense of being weaker. Small and weak, you're absolutely not made for combat. You are half a block tall and have about 6 hearts. That ability is pretty self-explanatory, I don't really need to go into detail for that one. Cheap crafting, you can crush stone into redstone into a crafting table. You can also craft pistons by putting a 2x2 recipe, 2 planks on top and cobblestone and redstone on the bottom. You can create skulk sensors. You put 1 redstone, 1 observer and 1 redstone torch on the top, and on the bottom you 1 skulk, 1 redstone, 1 skulk. You can also create an AA battery backpack by right clicking an iron chestplate with 4 redstone blocks in your inventory, which will make you lose your battery 2 times slower. So this crafting recipe ability is very interesting. First off, you can craft skulk sensors. Pretty cool, but that's not the most important and very useful thing about this ability. First off, you can convert 2 stone, it has to be stone, into 1 redstone piece. Not egregiously crazy with conversions, but something useful if you do desperately need redstone in a quick succession. But I think the biggest thing, and by far the biggest thing, is you can craft pistons with 2 wooden planks, 1 cobblestone, and 1 redstone, and then you get a piston. You don't need the iron, you don't need more cobblestone, you don't need more wood. It's a far more simplified recipe that you can far easily mass produce, which is so much more useful. Battery life, you cannot regenerate health with food, you cannot even eat normal food, but you can eat redstone to regenerate health and coal to restore some of your battery meter. You can also exchange a portion of your battery for life. Primary key, if your battery goes down to 0 though, you enter ultra battery saving mode. You can also regenerate battery by standing next to redstone block. Basically, Basically, resource management. You can use the redstone you gain from converting stone into redstone to feed yourself. You can also use coal to feed yourself, especially in the early game, so you do have the ability to actually heal yourself by converting your battery power into health. But then also a smarter thing to do in the future is to convert some of your redstone into redstone blocks, so you can simply place it down, stand on it for a few moments, let yourself charge back up, and then pick it right back up, and then you'll start to manage your resources a lot better. Ultimately, it's just a resource management game about your health and your batteries. Non-water resistance. You can be water for 10 seconds. After that, you'll start taking damage. You can dry up on land though. Basically, there's a blue bar below your battery bar, and that will slowly fill up over time, over like 10 seconds whilst you're in water. Once that maxes out, then you'll start taking damage. If you go out into land, this will slowly tick right back down, so you kind of have to wait a few seconds before you can go back in water again, otherwise you'll quickly get back up to the top of that bar and take damage. Our next and final origin comes from 𝓵𝓲𝓷𝓴𝓼. The Shadow Assassin origin. This is a single impact origin. Trained by the ancients in the ways of shadow, your combat style is based upon stealth. Shadowization. For a short time, you become one with the shadows, become invisible, faster, and jump higher, but you can't attack. Whenever you use this ability, you'll become invisible for a brief period of time. In this brief period of time, you'll be given Speed 3 and Jump Boost 4. Speed 3 is pretty useful. Jump Boost 4, it's a special kind of your own opinion on whether you think that's an okay thing to have or not. Overall, it's meh, it's a useful thing to have there, and again, you can't attack, but you're invisible. It's a good way to really just get out of any bad situation you may be in. Backstab. You deal extra damage with the element of surprise. Playing around with this, I'm not quite sure how this ability is meant to work. There's not enough detail to properly gather what it's meant to be. Maybe you deal extra damage whenever you come in from the behind of a person and attack that way, but most mobs will automatically turn around and look at you when they know you're there, so that's pretty difficult to get done on a mob, so maybe it only works on players, but it's an interesting ability nevertheless. Light-footed. You sneak faster than usual. This stacks with swift sneak as well. Basically, your general speed when you're shifting is a lot quicker than what the usual player would have. There's nothing much more to it. And it also works with your swift sneak, which can add up to that speed and adds on top of the current baseline speed, which is higher than normal for you. Assassin's Code. You cannot use shields, bows, crossbows, or axes in combat. It's very self-explanatory. Those weapons are just simply unusable for you, or also unwieldy. Enemy spotted. You begin to glow for a short period of time after taking damage. This also will come into effect whenever your invisibility ability goes off. You'll be glowing for 10 seconds after that as well, so keep in mind, after you take damage or you get out of your disappearing act, you'll become painstakingly obvious to any player in the vicinity of you because you'll have a massive outline on you. Anyway, that was a longer video. If you enjoyed the monthly showcase collections in this type of video format, let me know in the comments down below. If you prefer the shorter video format that I did last month, then let me know in the comments down below. Either way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button, and then also click this video on screen. Check out last month's collection. I'll see you guys next time. I've been recording for like many 2 hours straight. Bye bye.